So, can you walk us through a few key strategies or daily practices that support the microbiome health, and especially in midlife and beyond?
Yeah. And there's a lot. And I think that's what's exciting about when we think about modulating the microbiome or how can we improve gut health. It's not just about the food we eat. It's not just about the supplements we take. And that's what I think is exciting is there's all these small steps that we can do. And so diet, of course, is number one. I mean, I wouldn't be a dietitian if I didn't talk about the diet. And diet is truly the biggest factor when it comes to what disrupts or improves the microbiome. And I think we live in a culture now that there's a lot of diet noise. There's a lot of diet theory out there. And of course, I have my opinions, but the best diet is the diet that obviously we feel best on, that we can sustain. But unfortunately, we live in a society that just does not consume enough of those beneficial foods that truly feed our microbes. And that is something that's being studied time and time again. 7%, less than 7% of Americans actually consume enough fiber. What we're seeing, increased rates of colon cancer, we're seeing increased rates of GI dysfunction, we're seeing increased rates of all these things. And you can't not look at the diet. So that to me is number one. And I would start with fiber, especially those complex fibers and more specifically those prebiotic fibers. What feeds your beneficial microbes? Prebiotics are, or we also call them microbiota accessible carbohydrates. This is what your good bacteria prefer to eat. It's like I prefer to eat something, that's what's feeding me. Well, our good bugs also prefer to eat certain foods. So prebiotics are everything from your berries to your nuts and seeds to different vegetables. Think of those onions and garlic and asparagus. And so, how can we start to increase the variety of those types of foods in our diet? It doesn't mean stop eating your protein or your fat. And I think that's one of the things when we look at the best diet is one that's inclusive of all these very important macronutrient groups. I don't believe in diets where we take away or eliminate whole groups of foods. So it's like, how can we choose the best version of those foods? And I always start with fiber. And if you're someone who's not consuming enough fiber, there's a term out there. I've been saying this a lot because I just learned about it called fiber maxing, where people are just like going hog wild with fiber. This is something we want to slowly increase because our body has to adjust. We have to build up tolerance. We want to increase our water with that fiber intake. But how can we add one good source of fiber to each meal or each snack? I think that's a very tangible plan to start with. So I always look at that. Now, there are a lot of people that I work with that are like, well, I started eating all this fiber. I've started eating this healthier food and I don't feel so good. My body just doesn't like it. Well, that's a sign that you're missing really important bugs in your microbiome that are needed to break down those fibers. So it's a sign then that we have to do some restoration, have to start building that resiliency in the microbiome. And that's where supplements like your probiotics, your prebiotics, your postbiotics now can come into play. And I've worked in the probiotic and microbiome space for a while now, and there's a lot more coming out on precision probiotics. So finding those very specific strains, those very specific strains that have very specific targeted actions, and that's a great opportunity. I think a lot of people view probiotics as seeding or increasing the abundance, and that's not necessarily what's happening. They're tourists, they come in, they exert their benefits, and then they leave. And the way we actually start to really build that abundance of good bacteria is through the diet and through those prebiotics. So that's really important. But I most often will always use some combination of probiotics and prebiotics with my clients.